Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to review a highly anticipated movie, at least to the people who voted for me to watch it, and that movie is Mercy. Mercy is the newest Hollywood SLOP movie to come out, and pretty much anyone with half a brain knew that this movie was going to be complete trash. I think I heard about like the concept for this movie last year, but like I don't think I actually like knew what it was going to be, like who was going to be in it or anything, or that it would come out in January. But then I had the honor of seeing the trailer in theaters, and then after that I went online and I saw the poster all over the place, and I thought, wow, who the hell greenlit this trash? I mean, right off the bat, like, they spent an insane amount of money on this movie, even though it's like, it's basically, this is what this movie is. Mercy is, what if The Fugitive was a pandemic movie? I don't know why they're still making pandemic movies like this, like movies where they're so limited and you have like these people sitting in a room together talking, like just two people, or they're not in the same room because, you got a social distance. This is like a pandemic movie. And I thought, why did they spend so much money on this movie? I mean, God, what a waste of money. What a waste of resources. Just what a waste of everything. And not only that, but this movie is in 3D. It's in 3D. It's an IMAX. It's probably in smell-o-vision somewhere. I don't want to think about what the movie smells like, but like, I just don't know what they were thinking. Why would they invest so much money into this slop? This complete stupid slop. Well, as the movie goes on, the question lingered. It lingered like a bad taste in my mouth. I was tasting the movie, and I was like, wait a second, there is a conspiracy here. So now you are watching Conspiracy Marco, or listening. I don't know. I've always wondered, like, if there are people who watch my videos. Because obviously you have to watch my videos, but like, is there anyone who actually just sits there and watches the picture? because I don't know. I don't know if I could do that for an hour or whatever. But like, anyways, as the movie went on, it started to reveal more about itself. And it started to reveal more about the mysteries and the characters and all that crap. And I figured out why they made this movie. It's going to sound very cartoonish, but it is 100% why they made this movie, why they invested so much money into it, why they have these big name actors, why they want you to see it in 3D, IMAX 3D. This is the reason. Because this movie is pro AI. That's something that I think, some people, you might be on the fence about seeing this movie. Because, hey, what if it's just a fun movie? What if the premise is it leads to a fun experience? It's a fun, good, bad movie. You can have popcorn and laugh at it and, get a BJ in the theater. I don't know what you're going to do. Bring in some fried chicken and shit. I don't know. But no, this is a pro-AI movie. The whole movie was made to promote AI. It was a movie, it was a propaganda movie that was made to promote the integration of AI into our society, which nobody wants except for retards. And so that's what this whole movie is really all about. It becomes quite clear by the end of the movie that that's what it was about. And it's really kind of sinister if you think about it, because, you know, a lot of people are going to watch this movie and I don't think they're going to realize it, but no matter how little of a difference it makes in their subconscious, the whole movie basically paints a picture like, oh, AI, it really is not as bad as you might think. It's really not as horrible and bad for humanity as you might think. And this whole movie is the reason why. Now, thankfully, I don't think too many people are going to see the movie. I think that most people have a brain, and, you know, you see a movie about an AI judge and Chris Pratt, and, you know, you just are like, yeah, you know, the economy's terrible, and so I'm going to stay home. Maybe I'll order DoorDash. Oh, no, probably not do that either, because that costs a lot of money. You guys want to know something? The other day, I DoorDashed a root beer for $10. That's how much I wanted a root beer. I couldn't go out and get it, and so I was like, hey, I'm going to get a root beer. $10 root beer. And I gave the DoorDasher an extra $1 because I thought she was nice to come out and give me my root beer. But like, yeah. So anyways, this movie, I thought it was going to be fun. I mean, this is my off day, and I chose to watch this movie, you know, and it's really funny because, as it turns out, like, I don't really even think, like, off days exist for creative people, because I feel like creative people, you just can't escape doing something creative, because creativity is a part of life. Like, if you're a plumber or you're an accountant, like, obviously you could take a day off and you could not do anything related to that. But when you're a creative person, all it takes is just like, oh, I'm going to watch a movie, and like, that's creative. That's a creative task, kind of. But yeah, this movie is the antithesis of fun. It is garbage to the maximum level. And the fact that it was also made as a sinister propaganda movie, I think, makes the movie even a million times worse. I don't think that anyone could make an argument with me to say that this movie wasn't a propaganda movie. If you watch the whole thing, if you have to watch all the way to the end, it's very clear that this movie is completely basically telling the audience that, like, hey, AI isn't so bad. You know, I bet that they used AI to write the script, probably, or maybe just ask questions or revise it or something. I bet they used it in some way, because the movie is so on that side. It is ridiculous. It's so bad. And the worst part about this movie is that it's boring. It is a boring movie. It is so fucking boring. I mean, you got Rebecca Ferguson. She is a 10 out of 10. And it's just like, but who cares? Like, there's nothing, what I'm saying is, like, there's nothing in this movie that I can like. Like, it's not entertaining in, like, a good, bad way. There's like only like a couple of lines that are funny. And also the main character, Chris Pratt's character, Chris Raven, I think his name is, which is a really, really weird name for a character. Again, I think that there's a lot more to this movie than meets the eye. I'm really not usually one of those conspiracy kinds of guys on this channel, but I guarantee that if you really analyze this movie, that you would be able to find something that's there, and like do an investigation into it. I bet that someone that I know kind of well, he could probably do that. In terms of the mystery is that you have this guy, this detective, I think he is, and he supposedly killed his wife. And this AI judge is giving him 90 minutes to convince her that he's innocent, which basically means that he has to investigate his own case. And it's really, really stupid if you think about it. And there's a number of issues with the movie. Like, again, it's only an hour and 30 minutes, and it's really, really boring. Like, how could a movie that's only an hour and 30 minutes be more boring than, like, a 3-hour movie? You know, like, that just shows how bad this movie really is. Another thing is the fact that, like, even though it's about AI and AI judges, there's really nothing unique to this story that could only be used with AI. You could do the same thing with just like a robot. You know, I know the AI and robots, they're kind of similar. You could do the same thing with a robot judge. You could do the same thing with like real people that are just like really, stupid, and they're just, I just, there's nothing here in this story that is remotely interesting that you can really grab onto, and except for your chair. And I guess that's another thing. You know, again, I think that there's a big conspiracy behind this movie, because if you think about it, Chris Pratt is almost like the stand-in for the audience. If you think about it on a deeper, more profound level, the chair that Chris is sitting in the whole movie could be symbolic of the chair that you sit on in the movie theater. And you think about, he's watching this big screen. He has this huge screen to look at in front of him that's just like a movie theater. I'm cracking this movie wide open, guys. This is serious stuff. It might be funny to some people, but it is serious stuff. I know it is kind of funny. I mean, it's especially funny because it's like, they thought that like a January movie with Chris Pratt was going to be like a good way to, put out propaganda, like pro-AI propaganda. Like, no, it was a terrible idea, but Hollywood sucks at coming up with ideas, so that's really not surprising. Another thing, before I give this movie my food review, I would say that the last big issue with this movie is that there's no setup. There's a lot of modern movies nowadays, and for some reason, they will not set up a story. I don't know if, like, there was some idiot who, like, threw the story structure out the window. Like, if there was someone, like, I don't understand. There's so many movies nowadays where it feels like that, where it feels like they are not adhering to a story structure. They're just kind of doing what they want to do. And when you do that, it's really hard to relate to the characters, because in order for you to be invested into a story, you gotta set up a story. And in all these modern movies, they just refuse to do any type of setup. And that's become a big problem with modern movies. And I even had this problem. In high school, I took a creative writing class, which was not very fun. The teacher had an anger problem, and he was a jackass, and so it was not fun. But he was good at giving feedback, and I did like the fact he gave a lot of creative, like, ideas to write about, and so I did write a lot of stuff, and it helped me build my writing up. It was only a semester too, but I wrote several stories where they did not have any setup at all. And he criticized that. And at the time I thought, okay, he's just some idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But it's so true. It's so true. I look back on that. That was like almost 10 years ago. And I look back at that and go, wow, he was right. Like, having setup to a story is really key and integral, even if it's a short story. And so I know that this movie's like The Fugitive, and The Fugitive didn't really have a lot of setup, but the setup is in the first act regardless. In this movie, Mercy does not have any setup. It just throws you into things. And that's what all these modern movies do. And I think it's because of Gen Z. I think it's because of this thing where, oh, well, Gen Z can't watch a movie that's past this certain amount of time. So we got to cut it down to like an hour and a half, or else they'll start looking at their phones or something. And it's like, look, I've seen things with people who look at their phones. I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre with a guy who constantly looks at his phone during movies, and he looked at his phone the whole time. Anyways, the whole entire movie he looked at his phone. So you really can't do anything about those types of people. You know what I mean? Like, those types of people, they have an attention span problem. They have probably some kind of a mental problem. Not like necessarily like a terrible one, but a problem nonetheless, that they can't sit there and just focus their attention onto a movie for an hour and a half. I would consider that to be mental illness. And so I think that they should even make fun of it in Scary Movie 6. Is that the one that's going to be? Okay, so I'm going a little long, at least for the non-spoiler part, because if you would like to watch the rest of this review, I will be posting it on Patreon first. And on Patreon, you can see all of the full unedited movie reviews. And they will be about like an hour long, hopefully, each. If they're not, there's a bunch of them. And there's also a ton of other bonus content on there, and my short film. And, I really appreciate you guys probably signing up if you want to, if you really think that you're ready to be a part of the Cool Kids Club, because you signing up to my Patreon helps make this channel possible, and you signing up helps me continue to make indie movies. So yeah, now for my food review. In terms of food, I recently had a sandwich that I really did not like. It was a sandwich that was for a celebration, and it was supposed to emulate something really, really good that I've had a million times before, and it was an Italian beef sandwich. So we had these French rolls, and these rolls are so tough, and they are so flavorless and bad. They were impossible to chew. They were so bad. I had some trouble swallowing some of the pieces, and I had to make sure that I chewed them up fully, because that's how tough this bread was, even though we put the bread in the microwave for like 30 to 40 seconds. And then you had the meat. The meat was good, but the sauce, for some reason, someone else put a bunch of water in the sauce, and it watered it down. It took all the flavor out, and it was lacking seasoning. It was lacking salt, so it made the sandwich taste terrible. It just was not like it was just very bland and very boring. And then lastly, they got tzatziki sauce as a sauce, which I've never heard of putting that on an Italian beef sandwich. That kind of sounds like something that, like, I don't know, like someone who has like a tzatziki fetish would do. I don't even know. And and then there were some pickles on there and Swiss cheese. And again, this was a very boring sandwich. It was not really a reason to celebrate as much as it was a reason to not want to ever eat it again. And I stayed true to that today. Today, we're snowed in, or we were snowed in, and I managed to go out and go to the movies and come back. Wink, wink. And I could have had this Italian beef sandwich again, and I said, no, thank you. I'm not eating that again. So yeah. So anyways, that is it for my non-spoiler review of Mercy. I hope that God has mercy on your souls if you choose to watch this movie. If you go watch this movie, you will watch it knowing that you're supporting an AI propaganda movie. And if you're willing to compromise your morals like that, then go right ahead. Go right ahead and go do that. Or you could sign up for my Patreon and you could be supporting an artist who thinks that AI is fucking retarded. And so, yeah.